Might as well get started. Well, if people come a little late, they'll be able to see the recording on our YouTube channel in about a week when I can get done with it. But let me start by good evening and welcome to our May Meet the Author interview. I'm Rick Meredith, the president of Capital Crimes, and we are so pleased to have Catriona McPherson with us tonight to discuss her latest novel, The Dead Room. Catriona will be interviewed by Jennifer Morita, but before I introduce Jennifer, let me go over a few of our upcoming events. On Saturday, May 16th, our members meeting speaker is Michael Bracken, who will discuss the business of writing short stories. And the following day, on the 17th, Mac Daly, Mac's here, right? There's Mac. We'll be hosting a crime time get-together at the Old Haunts Bookshop in Granite Bay. And that should be a lot of fun. And we're giving a $25 gift certificate. No, what was it? Is it a raffle or a drawing? Anyway. So.
It's a raffle. That's a drawing.
Yeah. Something is legal, whatever we're doing. Yeah. On June 9th, as we get into June 9th, our Meet the Author guest is Elizabeth Crowens. And our monthly members meeting in June will be held on the 20th live at Tabor Ranch Winery in Yolo County. We did it last year, and it was great fun for everyone. They had good food, good wine, good beer, and good soft drinks too. So I hope you can make it out there. But be sure to check the newsletter, the rap sheet, and our website for the full calendar of events. Let me ask you to mute your audio and turn off your video during the presentation. And like I just said, if you miss anything in the recording, we'll have it on our YouTube channel in about a week. And questions for Catriona, just put them in chat, and we'll compile them for the Q&A at the end. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Jennifer, who will then introduce Catriona. Former newspaper reporter Jennifer K. Morita believes a good story is like a good mochi, slightly sweet and a nice chew. Her debut mystery, Ghosts of Waikiki, won the 2025 Left Coast Crime Lefty Award and Macavity Award for Best Debut Mystery and was an Agatha and Anthony Award finalist. Ghosts of Waikiki was released in paperback on February 24th. Jennifer is a writer for University Communications at Sacramento State. She lives in Sacramento with her husband and 2 teenage daughters. And when she isn't plotting murder mysteries or pushing Girl Scout cookies, I need a new source, by the way, she enjoys reading, experimenting with recipes, Zumba, and hot hula. With that, Jennifer, the screen is all yours. Highlight you too.
Okay, thanks so much, Rick. Well, it is my pleasure to be speaking tonight with Catriona McPherson. I'm a little nervous, actually. I know. Catriona was born in Scotland and lived there until 2010 when she immigrated to California, where she lives on the land of the Potwin people in Yolo County. After earning a PhD in linguistics from Edinburgh University, she had a banking job, then did library work in local studies and art, and was in academia before becoming a full-time writer in 2005. Catriona is the award-winning author of 39 books. She has a 1940s amateur-sleuth series, a modern humorous series about a Scot-out-of-water in a fictional college town, aka Davis, and she also writes contemporary psychothriller standalones. Her novels have won Agathas, Anthony's, Leftys, and Macavitys, and have been finalists for an Edgar, a CWA Dagger, and 3 Mary Higgins Clark awards. She is a member of Mystery Writers of America, the Crime Writers Association, the Society of Authors, and Sisters in Crime, of which she is a proud lifetime member and former national president. Please welcome Catriona McPherson. Yay! Thank you so much.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Jen.
Yeah.
I like how, even though we're on Zoom, I am just as enormous sitting next to you as I am in real life. I feel like a plough ox when I'm standing next to you. I thought we'd be the same size tonight. Never mind. Thank you.
I always feel like a kid standing next to you, too. So.
Well, behemoth. Anyway, thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. So, we're here tonight to talk a little bit about The Dead Room, which is your 39th
Dead
book.
Room.
I've got it too.
Oh, you got it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Which is phenomenal. Huge congratulations. That's such an accomplishment. When you said 39th book at your book launch, I was just, wow. Um,
Me too. Me too. I just recorded a wee podcast for Bloody Scotland, the Scottish Crime Writing Festival, and they say, oh, we do two authors, one established and one beginner. And I genuinely thought, oh, I wonder who the established author will be. Because you just don't, I mean, you just still feel like you're completely lost every time. But yeah, yeah.
that's
Hmm.
amazing. So the Dead Room, this is one of your psychological thrillers, and it's about a grieving widow she's just lost her husband, and she comes home to Scotland to kind of start over. And she's there because she'll also be closer with her brother and his wife and kids, and then her childhood friend Chloe. The main character is named Lindsay. But then little things start to happen, right? And she starts to doubt her own senses, her own memories. And she meets an elderly widow. But when she goes back to visit her new friend, the woman has disappeared. What was the inspiration for the Dead Room?
What was the inspiration for the Dead Room? Two places. One I'm really sure about. I'm such, by the time you finish the book, it's hard to remember where it started. Um, one of them was my love for Escape to the Country on BritBox, where people go and look round lovely um, country houses all over Britain and, hopefully buy one. So I wanted to, and Agatha Christie's Sleeping Murder, where Gwenda Reed, young, is she Australian or New Zealand? Can't remember.
I think she lived in
Antipodean woman,
Australia.
Australia, right? Buys a house in Britain without the help of Escapes the Country. And she's never been in Britain before, but she recognizes it. She knows that she knows where a door's been um, boarded up, and she knows that it's there, and she knows that there are steps in the garden that she shouldn't know. So she starts to think that she's going crazy. And it's a Miss Marple novel. So it was the combination of loving Sleeping Murder, loving BritBox, and wanting to write a really amazing old lady. And there was something else as well. I can't remember what. Oh, I think it was the now I call it a junkyard, but I think you would call it a flea market. So it's not squashed cars. It's people's like from estate sales and house clearances and old books and knickknacks and things like that. I wanted to write that setting where, there's all the posh stuff at the front, hotel overstock and things like that at the front. And then as you go back and back and back in this junkyard, as I would call it, it starts to break down. So those kind of archaeological layers of, so there's kind of skeletons of bikes and things poking up out of the grass as you go back. I just wanted to write that as a metaphor for childhood secrets. Yes, that's why. That's why I wrote it. That's
That
where it
was
came
the
from.
seed. And Lindsay is an audiobook narrator too. So can you tell us why an audiobook narrator? And what did you do to kind of get into that character?
Well, yeah, I mean, she's an audiobook narrator because I found out that audiobook narrators call their little soundproof places where they work the Dead Room. And I thought, oh, that's a great title. And, I need to stop being a writer and get another job doing something else if I can't work out what that something else can happen in a place called the Dead Room. It's a windowless, soundproofed room in someone's house. So I mean that
That's
it was
creepy.
half written by then. So that's why she was an audiobook narrator, and also somewhat because she doubts her. I mean, she's not even grieving. She's exhausted. She's just nursed her husband to the end of his life, and she's barely started grieving. She's absolutely exhausted, although she's also done a lot of pre-grieving because she knew it was coming. Um, and so and she's jet lagged at the start as well. And she's in a different place and she's back in her hometown. So when she begins to doubt herself, she doubts her judgment, and she doubts her mood, she doubts her perceptions, except her hearing, because she's a very um, auditory person. So she doubts what she sees, what she remembers, whether she understands stuff, but she does not doubt what she hears. So when she starts to not be able to make sense of what she's hearing, that's when she thinks, no, it's not me, it's not grief and exhaustion and jet lag. Something's wrong here. So that wasn't why I made her an audiobook narrator, but it was a gift that she was one in the end.
Or because you don't plot, right? You're an organic writer.
Yeah, that's a very kind way of putting it. No, I don't plot at all. So I made up a whole load of stuff that was really inauthentic and ridiculous about what it was like to be an audiobook narrator. But then when I was finished the first draft, then I learned how it's actually done, and did some studying about it, and had to change quite a lot because I'd got things wrong. But then I ended up, there was far too much of it in there, and then the editor took quite a lot out because she thought you just need a flavour that's not about her job.
Mhm.
You just need to. But I do think if you've learned a whole lot and you've written a whole lot, and then you take it out, you can tell. Maybe this is too fanciful, but I think you can tell that someone knows a lot more than they've put in the book, and they've put in 5% of what they learned. I think you can tell when someone's done some really cursory research and only put in everything they know, and it's not very much. I don't know I don't know what the mechanism for that would be, but I'm going to tell myself that so it wasn't wasted.
No, I
Mhm.
think I know what you mean because you put everything into it and then you can pull things out. And when you pull those
Yeah.
things out, the things that you don't necessarily need, you're left with the good stuff.
Yeah, there's a sort of, yeah, it's a kind of like, it's almost, you're just referring to things in a sure-handed way
Uh-huh.
because you've learned them rather than going, here's some stuff, you know.
Right.
So I wasn't sorry. I was sorry that some of my more fanciful imaginings about what it was like to be an audiobook narrator weren't true, and then I just had to take them out.
Like what?
And I can't remember now, but I
Oh,
remember killing a darling. I can't remember what it was, so it's not much of an anecdote. But I remember um something about something really specific about what it would be like to be an audiobook narrator. Actually, I cannot remember what it was, but I remember being sorry that I took it out because I liked it, and it was working in two different ways, and they both had to go, and I had to work out how to do it in a different way.
oh,
Oh
yeah.
well, reality. Never
So how
mind.
did you find out what it was really like to be an audiobook narrator? Because that's
Just from looking at from buying because people who are audiobook narrators tend to work from themselves, and it's a kind of work that you can do at home. So there's small business people, so there's lots of how-to manuals and courses and seminars and things like that that you can lurk in, and find out how to do it that way. I mean, not to the extent that I could now be one, but because I worked out pretty quick. Because sometimes people say you should read your books because you've got the right accent, but I couldn't be one.
Mhm.
Um, I think I would be too expensive because you've got to be able to start speaking in no ums and ahs and tongue slips, and so that you're not going to cost much in the way of studio time or whoever's doing the production. It's not for me.
So, one of the other things I really loved about this book was just that there are two very important places, and I really liked how you developed those places. And Lindsay's childhood home, for instance, which is also the Lord's scrapyard, which is the family business. And so I was wondering, there's just a lot of details in it. And so to me, it almost became a character of its own. So I was wondering, how did you develop this place in your head? And I mean, like, did you sketch these sort of things out, or how do you do that?
Well, is there any chance that the other place, that the other setting that struck you was the house that she buys?
Yeah.
That's good because this is all gonna dovetail.
Okay.
So the house that Lindsay buys, that I call St. Helens, there's lots of Easter eggs to Sleeping Murder in the book, and that's one of them. I saw on Rightmove UK, which is the British property site, which I can recommend to anyone because it's got floor plans. It's a great disappointment that American property websites don't generally have floor plans. Anyway, never mind. So I chose this house and I downloaded all the pictures and the floor plans and printed them out and wrote it. So it's a real house, but I moved it to a different bit of Scotland. It's somewhere else entirely. And then when the book had been written, months later, I was sitting watching Escape to the Country on a Sunday night with Neil, my husband, and I saw this couple going around this house and thought, I think we've seen this one before, but they don't seem familiar. Oh my God, it's Lindsay's house. And Neil said, who's Lindsay? Because I don't talk about my books at all. So he didn't know who this was. Um, so Lindsay's house was on the show, and it was the mystery house, which is very exciting. So not the boring one that they may be going to buy. There's always a third one that's the mystery house. And they bought it. This couple bought Lindsay's house, and one of them, I think they were both Scottish, but they'd been in London, and one of them was a stage manager for, oh, I haven't got it, a stage manager on the West End, and he was stage manager for Phantom of the Opera for decades.
Wow.
And the other one was working for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So I got their second names from their first names on the show and knowing a little bit about their life. And I knew where their house was because I'd downloaded it all. So when The Dead Room came out, I sent them a copy of this book and said, if this creeps you out, then don't, just put it in the wheelie bin, and no one will ever know because it's not in the town where you live. But if it doesn't creep you out, I'll send you a finished copy when it comes out. And they were tickled pink. They were, there's theatrical people, and they weren't going to be creeped out by it. They were thrilled to bits. And then it turned out that the Stuart, so it's Stuart and Chris, Stuart was just about to bring out his first book, which was a memoir about being a stage manager on the West End. It's called Beginners to the Stage, Please. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So we're sort of borderline sickeningly cross-promoting each other's books now. And then I'm going to go and see them when I'm in Scotland in the summer and see what they've done with the house. Because he was a stage manager and his husband Chris is well, he works for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is always on a bit of a shoestring. So they're both really handy. So heaven knows what they've done to this house,
Oh,
which is
that would
quite
be
a mess.
fantastic to see that.
I know it's just
Yeah.
it's just great. But seriously, I don't know much about musical theatre, and I'm not a massive fan. Although I did just see Come From Away in Ashland last week, and adored it. But when you can read a memoir about a profession that you don't know anything about, set in a world that you're not crazy keen on, and be so gripped,
Mhm.
that's good writing. Shelley Jones just did that as well. One of the nominees for the best debut, Agatha, is a cozy set in a board game shop in Massachusetts. So real nerds, they're all in this board game shop. And I inhaled that. I know nothing about it, really. But I think it's great if you can read a book that's a completely different world and not something you're agog to find out about and you're gripped.
Right. That's so talent.
Anyway, sorry, I forgot to tell you the other half of this story. It was Stuart Arnott, author of Beginners to the Stage, Please, who said, I know you said I know you said in your author's note that you made up everything except Andy Murray's Golden Postbox in Dunblane. But have you ever been to a place called Sam Burns Yard in East Lothian? And I thought, yeah, of course I have. So that, I thought, nothing's based on anywhere. But the scrapyard, the Lord's Yard, Lords will provide, is their tagline, had become so real to me that I'd completely forgotten that I've spent quite a lot of time going round a little junkyard in East Lothian, in Scotland, near where I'm from. And so I had a kind of rudimentary map of how it works, like where the good stuff is and what they do with the less good stuff and how it breaks down and everything. But Sanburn's Yard is much smaller and very well organized. And Lord's Yard is huge
Right.
and a real mess. And terrible things happen there, which is not true of Sanburn's Yard. But it was Stuart Arnott whose house is in the book who said, "Are you sure you made up this scrapyard? Because it seems kind of familiar to me." So, yeesh.
So you think it was kind of in your subconscious?
No, it wasn't in my subconscious at all. It was just by the time the book, because I'm an organic writer, by the time the book was finished, I had forgotten that I hadn't made up Lord's Yard
I see. Okay.
out of my head. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, right, I'm doing the author's note. What is there? What is there? What is there? Nope, nothing. Made it all up myself. Didn't.
Wow. That's fantastic. Well, I mean, it seemed like such a kind of a magical place through a child's eyes. But then,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
we learn more later.
Yeah, it's magical, partly because they're smaller. I mean, I know that sounds really banal, but when they were little, all the furniture was so much taller than them, and the wardrobes were, monolithic, and they
Mhm.
could scurry in the wee places. And I've had that when we moved into California and started growing artichoke plants, globe artichokes. I was really disappointed that they were so small because my friend had a little sun trap at the bottom of her garden in Scotland, and her father grew an artichoke, and it was huge. I said, I wonder if I could get one of them. And Neil sort of looked at me as if to say, "Wow, you're really stupid." I said, "Well, what? What is it?" He said, "Just think, it'll come to you." Oh no, it wasn't bigger. I was smaller. Duh.
Right.
But yeah, the magical, so it was pirate ships and spaceships and castles and forts and everything for
Right.
Lindsay and John when they were children. And when she goes back, exhausted and jet lagged and grieving, she's trying to get that kind of magic back again.
Right.
Mm.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit. I'd like to rewind a little bit, actually, and because I've never actually heard your origin story, how you started writing. Do you mind talking a
Mm.
little bit about sort of the beginnings and a little take us on your writing journey?
No, how far back do you want to go?
Well, were you when you were working at the bank or the library or in academia, were you also writing at that time, or did you
No.
start after you left?
I wrote when I was a child and I loved it and I wanted to be a writer.
Mhm.
But and people, some people here will have heard this before, but just listen to my accent instead. It's so easy when I'm here. When I go back to Scotland, I've got to say stuff that everybody wants to hear because they've all got the same accent. Um, but where I'm from, so the time and place, so 1970s blue collar East Coast Scotland, small town, it was unthinkable to be a writer. I thought it because I've got an overactive imagination, but it was squashed out of me by a careers advisor who was in the wrong job, who saw it as her job to make all the children in this school either be, nurses or teachers or secretaries, or not that there is anything wrong with nurses or teachers. We don't really have secretaries anymore. Um, I mean, the world, oh, anyway, my sister's a psychiatric nurse, so I do know. And I couldn't be a teacher. I couldn't be a teacher because I couldn't not laugh when someone farts. That's how I've always known I couldn't be a teacher. How did they manage to not laugh? I'll never know. Anyway, but what the careers advisor said to me was, don't be so daft. You can't, don't be so daft, writer. You're a clever girl, stay on at school and you'll get a good job. And so I just went, oh, okay, and stayed on at school till I was 35. Talking about overreacting. Um, so I went to university, first person in my family who'd been to university, and then I did a PhD. Then I got a tenure track position in a fairly decent university and thought, well, that's that then. I'll just sit here and cry till I'm dead. I hated it. I was really bad at it and I didn't understand it. I understood linguistics, I understood teaching. I didn't understand working in the university. I was so unhappy. So I just packed it in. I resigned and decided to sit down and write a book. My husband was a great help at this point. He called himself a patron of the arts. But to be honest, it's not much fun living with someone who's that unhappy and
Yeah.
moaning all the time and crying all the time. So I thought, right, I'll teach part-time and I'll take 5 years. And if after 5 years nothing's happening, then I'll go crawling back and save my pension and, try and work out what it is that I don't understand about working in a university. Um, so that was in 2000, and I got the first book went in a drawer where it belonged. The second book got me an agent and a contract. My first book came out in 2005. And that was the book that was the first in a series that ended up 16 books long. So I never went back.
So that
It
was
was so
Armistice
much
Fall.
easier than Jennifer. I'm so sorry to say this, but it was so much easier before the global recession
Hmm.
and before. I mean, it wasn't quite that they just drag you in off the street if you walked past the publishers, but it was a lot more like that than it is now. There was money. It was the height of Oprah, the book club. Everyone was in a book club, and there was Richard and Judy in the UK, and there was money in publishing, and it was easier. And then 2008 happened, and it all went to hell. And if we hadn't already known that we were moving to California in 2008, I might have given up then because I lost a zero off my contract, literally,
Mhm.
and was no longer making a living as a writer. But we already knew we were leaving the country, so I didn't give it up and go back to work. And then when we got here, Neil was here on the genius visa, he's a professor, and I was here on the chattel visa. I was here as a wife. I wasn't allowed to work. So I didn't go
Oh.
back to work. And I thought, well, it can't be illegal to type in your own house. So I kept writing.
Uh-huh.
And then by the time I did get like my visa converted into a green card, so I could work, by then I had an American publisher. And that was another stroke of luck that might make you hate me because this was book 5 of the Dandy Gilver series, which is 1926. And she goes undercover as a lady's maid during the general strike. It's 9 days in May. I should be promoting it right now. Um, and it was the year that Downton Abbey came onto American television, and I'd written this book about an aristocrat going undercover as a servant, and I got an American publisher.
Got
Pure
it.
luck.
Wow.
I mean, pure luck because of the timing. I would have given up. I would have given up in Scotland, and then I would have given up if I'd been allowed to work in America. But I wasn't, so here we are.
And we're very lucky that that happened then. The
I'm
rest of us are
very
very
lucky.
lucky.
I'm very lucky that it happened. Yeah.
Well, so
Hmm.
you started out with the historical series or a historical series. You have another one now too, right? But you also have a humorous series and these psychological thrillers. What made you switch and change the genre or the subgenre? And was that hard to do?
It's not quite the way it looks because the book I wrote first, the one that ended up in a drawer, was a psychological thriller.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that until long after I'd finished it. That's how that's how bad it was. And the historical that I wrote was as a palate cleanser. Once I'd had the 40 rejections and given up, and I was freaking out because I'd given up my job to do this and I was failing. And it was Neil said, "Well, just write something just to get your spirits up. Write something that you'll enjoy. What do you love?" And I said, "Well, I love Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers and Marjorie Allingham and Michael Innes, who always gets forgotten about." And he said, "Well, write one of them then as a palate cleanser." And that's what I did. So I was always writing both of those genres. It's just that it took much longer for anyone to want to publish one of the darker ones, one of the contemporary ones. But the comedies were my editor, not my editor now, but my then editor saying, we'd like something more. She said it in a way that was very intimidating, but it might sound like boasting, but I'll just say it. She said, "We want you like you are on a panel, but in the form of a murder mystery."
I see. Yes.
So contemporary and funny, cringe, but funny and set in America because it'll be an easier sell. And I said, well, I can't write an American book because I don't know anything. I'd only been here 6 years, and I'll stand by that. I couldn't have written it then. I said, but I can write a Scottish character in California
Yeah.
because I know that. So
Yeah.
that's how that came about. It was really the publisher asking me for that. And then all kinds of shenanigans later, it ended up coming out with a different publisher because writing is wonderful and publishing is publishing, right?
Right.
Um, and that was Midnight Ink, who then promptly, after 2 books, they closed. So then I was orphaned again. I was looking for another publisher. So it's been the writing's been wonderful. Publishing's been a bit of an adventure. But
Right.
but I conceived of it as a trilogy, and it's 9 books long now, and I've just pitched another 3, so fingers
Wow.
crossed.
And so you've had multiple publishers. Do you have the same agent that you started with?
Yes. Well, no, I had an agent for 1 book, and because everybody says, if you're going to go down that route, and I'm not sure I would now. I think probably if I was starting now, I would do it myself. No, I'd pay someone to do it because I couldn't do everything that an independently published author
Right.
does. I'm in,
Yeah.
in awe. I mean, I know what my strengths are, and there's a lot of self-publishing that would really challenge me. Um, what am I saying? Oh, yeah. And I know everybody says don't sign with the first agent who'll take you, but that's really hard to do. So I did sign with the first agent who took me, and we didn't really she sold my book, but I was kind of scared of her. I used to get all blotchy neck when the phone went and it was her. Ugh, which is not good. And then she gave me a really weird piece of feedback. I'd written a sort of time travel caper, somewhat based on my PhD. And I will challenge anyone to have done a more useless PhD than me. If anyone wants to know, ask me in the Q&A. If you play that game, who did the most, makes me sound like I'm in very rarefied circles, but I have played the game, who did the most useless PhD. I have never lost a round. And she said, so I've done this time travel thing, and she read it, and she read 3 chapters and phoned me back and said, Emily in our town learns that there's no point in playing around with time, so I think you should write something else. And I thought, that is the most ridiculous piece of advice I've ever heard in my life. That's insane. So I kept the book and changed agents. So I've been with my agent now it'll be 20 years this year.
Okay.
Lisa. She's in London, which makes no sense whatsoever. I wouldn't advise anyone who lives in the USA to have an agent in London, but we've been together for 20 years. And
So the time difference must be kind of hard to do Zoom calls.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of 8 o'clock meetings when she's having her first glass of wine. But it's fine. But she's great. I stay with her. I stay in her house when I'm in London.
Oh, nice.
And
Wow.
we're great pals. And she's kind and lovely to her authors and an absolute Tasmanian devil to the publishers, which is exactly what you want.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a great combination, and she's a lot of fun. I remember I don't know if I've got time to say this, but I remember we went out for this I thought, I'm not making that mistake again. I'm vetting this person before we sign up. So we met for lunch in London. It was all very proper and all very businesslike. And then we stood up at the end of lunch, and she said, "Do you need the toilet?" Oh, she said, "I'm so sorry. I've got 3 little children." That just came out. And that was the moment that I thought, yes, okay, yeah, you're the one for me. And she slept over to the Edgars 4 times now, once for the Edgar Award and 3 times for the Mary Higgins Clark Award. She and her husband have come over from London
Oh
to
my
New York
gosh, that's lovely.
to watch me not win. Anyway,
Well, okay, so as I've mentioned many times, The Dead Room is your 39th book, and that's because I'm still in awe of that. So can you, and earlier we were talking about how you already have 41 and 42 out.
40 and 41 are done. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, 40 and 41 are done, and you started working on 42. So can you tell us about 40 and 41, and maybe even a little about
Yes.
42?
I can't tell you anything about 42,
Okay.
and I would actually counsel anyone. No, in fact, I buttonholed someone at Malice and told them this and said, but someone was coming out of the lift and backed me up. I can't remember who it was now to say it only comes out once. It comes out of you one time. Make it come out on the page, not in the bar.
Huh?
You know, don't make it come out over coffee. Just so I'm not going to say anything about number 42, but 40. So the ninth book of the Scott in California that was supposed to be a trilogy, that's coming out in December. It's called Out Damned Scott, which I'm really thrilled that they've let me keep as a title. It is a murder, but also Lexi is very, very, very pregnant and the baby is overdue. So Out Damned Scott has got two different meanings. And then the second one that I've just turned in and haven't had any edits back for is going to be called, I think, The Dark Hotel. And it's another dark psychological thriller. Can I say anything else about that? Oh, it's actually I didn't realize this until it was done that it is actually someone moving into a new place. It's someone starting a new life and but it's a brand new place where she doesn't know anyone. New job, new house, new beginning. Guess how well it goes. Poor thing.
And when does that
Mm.
come out?
Well, next March,
Okay, wow.
I think. Yes, next March. Yeah.
Mhm. And so we were talking about this a little bit too, that you kind of go between 2 to 3 books a year, roughly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm I'm what I should be writing right now is a third 1948 one, but I'm just not. And I think maybe it's because I haven't been in Edinburgh. I was supposed to be going last summer, as I do every year, and I fell over and I broke my kneecap, and it's a long recovery, and I couldn't go, I couldn't fly.
Mhm.
And I think it's because I haven't been there. So I think, and I'm going on the 1st of June. So I think when I get there, I'll probably go back to the old local studies library where I used to work. Because the internet's wonderful, but sometimes you do just need to be grubbing around in the dusty
Yeah,
stacks. And
yeah,
so I think maybe that will come back once I'm over there. But I'm not gonna it's not contracted, which is fine. So that means that I don't have to make myself write it if
right.
it's not what's, it's not on fire inside me at the moment.
Mhm.
I hope it does because I like the characters
Yeah,
and I want to go back to them.
yeah. Well, I think it's time for us to let some of our guests, viewers, ask some questions. Rick, and it looks like we have a lot of
Yeah,
questions too.
I had to turn on the audio. Okay, let me just get this one from Dover but on the list here, and then we'll start from the top. First question was, uh, well, I think you answered the question, what brought you to California from Scotland? And it was,
Oh boy, trouble. Well,
yeah, yeah,
the same thing that brings everyone to Davis who's not from Davis. Someone works at the university. But yeah, it was, well, I'm saying boy, trouble, but this is the same boy that said, yeah, pack in your job and come home and write a story. So no complaints.
there you go. Uh,
Mm-mm.
did you have to promote yourself, or did your publisher do that for you? Or how much self-publishing or self-promotion do you have to do?
Well, I've just had my first book come out with Thomas and Mercer, and that's a very different game. So for the big six publishers, I mean, again, it used to be different. There used to be a wine budget, there used to be a travel budget. Everything changed. I always say that the big New York publishers, they'll pay for anything as long as you don't need it. So I'm sure that it's been a long time since Harlan Coben bought a plane ticket, so it's that kind of, But on the other hand, it's like these people who sell a gazillion books are subsidizing all of us who don't. So, I'm not complaining about that. And I buy them, Harlan Coben, since I've plucked him out of thin air, I buy them on day of publication in hardback and hoover them up. There's I mean, they do the kind of like the press stuff and the trade stuff, if anyone's still writing trade reviews. But the fact of the matter is, self-promotion is one of the bits that's pretty much the same, whether you're traditionally published or self-published. It's the marketing, it's setting the price point and deciding when to, and the design and the actual nitty-gritty of making a word file into into something that looks like a book. That's what I was talking about when I said I know where my strengths do not lie. But the promotion, it's much of a muchness, really.
Yeah. Of your writing, what do you like the best? The standalone suspense, the historical mystery, or the fun contemporary mystery? Do you have a favorite?
No, not really. I think that there's good. I like writing the California ones because if I want to see something that's right outside, I don't need to wait till summer when I'm in Scotland. I like the series because you know some of the people. Um, and I like the historical ones because nobody's got a phone and I don't have to learn, about any cyber crime. It's a more physical world. It's a less technological world. So the things I need to find out are things that will be fun to find out, like what were the stocking colours called in 1932? So it's really, I like them. I like them all. I don't think I would write any of them if I didn't really.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. For a writer who doesn't plot ahead of time, how do you sell your ideas to the publisher and your agents,
Right. Yeah.
especially with
Well,
the changing genres? Yeah.
exactly. Well, now, thankfully, now on back catalogue, you know, it's I now I'll sell. I'll make up. I think I wrote 3 paragraphs all on the same page of 3 potential books, and then nothing that I wrote on those 3 paragraphs actually happened in the real book, but what did happen was okay. So it's a real problem. I can write a synopsis. I mean, I don't like it. I'm like a dog going to the vet, but I can write a synopsis once I've written the novel. But I find it really difficult to write a synopsis before I've written it. Not that it's hard to write it, but just that I think it's going to kill the book stone dead because it goes against everything I just said of, it's going to come out of you once and don't tell anyone. It is it's a real problem. But thankfully I've got all these books, so maybe they think, chances are she will be able to write another one.
It works.
As long as it'd be funny if I handed in an epic poem, wouldn't it? A spy
Yeah.
thriller.
And I think you mentioned it before, but your PhD was in linguistics. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And what's the name of the question was, what's the name of your time travel book?
Oh, what the time travel book? Oh, well, the time travel book, I called it Save Elvis, which I still think is a great title. It's the first job of any time traveler. Go back, save Elvis, and then see what else needs to be taken care of. But they changed the title to Growing Up Again, which I thought was so dreary. Anyway, I've got the rights back now. You can't get it now because I got the rights back at long last. And when my agent and I, this summer in London, when we get a minute to think about it, see, this is where I could self-publish it. If I could self-publish, I could self-publish that
Yeah.
because I got the rights back. It's way out of date. I mean, I'm saying it's based on my PhD, but you wouldn't know that when you read it. It's a comedy, a time travel comedy. So I own it now. We'll see. And if I do bring it out, it'll come out called Save Elvis. Definitely.
Yeah. Your books are with various publishers, but all with the same agent, or you had 2 agents in your career, or?
One agent for 2005 and one agent from 2006 to 2026.
And how many publishers?
Yeah, so wait, Cosmo Robinson. 6, maybe.
Oh,
6.
good.
And then some of them because I moved and some because they keep buying each other.
Yeah.
So I'm with Severn House now, but Severn House are now owned by Joffy. So the California books are now with Joffy, but nothing's changed for me. I've got the same editor. I'll be meeting her for coffee in a wee coffee shop opposite Haworth Parsonage, opposite the Bronte Parsonage in Haworth in the summer, Sarah Porter. So, for various reasons, you move publishers.
Yeah.
Donna Andrews, except Donna Andrews. Donna Andrews, I love her and I love her books. I've got her Christmas book waiting for Christmas time. But she's written 36 books with the same publisher.
Wow.
One book a year and then one summer book and a Christmas book every year with the same publisher. Who does that anymore? Donna Andrews does it.
Yeah.
And long may she reign, she deserves it and they're great. But, it must be nice. I do get slightly envious, but I'd rather have a world with Donna's books in it coming out twice a year than a world in which I got that publishing career. So
Yeah. Okay, when you go back to Scotland, what's the first thing you eat?
Ooh, pork pie probably. It'll be some kind of meat encased in pastry because my people have never found combination of meat and pastry that they didn't get right behind. My mum will make haggis for me, so I'll be having haggis for dinner the first night I'm there, even though it's June. But Neil, I mean, my husband comes with me sometimes, but not every year. But one year, he was only there for a week and he made a spreadsheet to make sure that he didn't miss any of the ways that you can encase meat and pastry while he was there, lunch and dinner, and little car snacks.
We were in Ireland
yeah,
3 years ago. I saw they had the one grocery store, they had vegetarian haggis. And I thought that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
well, it's very heavy because the actual haggis, I mean, it's counterintuitive, but as we'll know from watching the Bake Off, suet makes everything very light and fluffy, and vegetarian haggis has lentils instead of suet, so it can't possibly have. It's probably got vegetable shortening, but it's got lentils in it, which, are not light when they're
Yeah.
boiled for 3 hours. I'm making myself hungry though. I would eat a vegetarian haggis right now.
I'm drooling.
Yeah, so there's just so many, but it's not food, it's product. It's like the food of childhood. It's the um Mr. Kipling's fondant fancies and the ridiculous flavors of what you call potato chips that you get there. So you get chicken tikka masala potato chips.
Are they crisps in Scotland or chips?
Crisps, yeah, crisps, yeah.
Yeah, see,
So I
acorn
will miss
works.
the watermelon. I'll miss the watermelons because I'm away June and July this year. So there better be one of those gorgeous big watermelons the size of a toddler in my fridge when I get back. I'm sure there will be.
Okay, this is a question that fascinates me too. With how your day writing, 20
Mhm.
hours a day, 7 days a week. What is your schedule?
My schedule is, she said schedule. My schedule, stop
Schedule.
corrupting me, is 2,000 words a day, 5 days a week until it's done. So that's 8 weeks for an 80,000 word first draft, 10 weeks for because the historical ones are longer. So somewhere between 88 and 10 weeks, all being well. And all is never that well because an edit will come or page proofs will come or, something will happen or, it never, I can't remember the last time. And I used to worry that it never happened, that I never actually did write 2,000 words a day, 5 days a week for 8 weeks till I was done, ever. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, maybe, well, it doesn't matter. Clearly, it doesn't matter. If it's never happened and everything's been fine, then I don't need to worry about it. But I do write 2,000 words a day. I wrote 2,000 words today, starting with, but I cheated because I got to write the title page. Do you want to know the
There are
title?
guidelines and rules, and you just have guidelines.
The title is New Book. So I can reveal that. So yeah, and I just bash it out. I don't read anything. I don't edit as I go, although I did edit a sentence today so ugly. I put it on Facebook actually. It was such a stinker of a sentence that I couldn't let it stand. There was no point. Oh, if I can remember what it was. It was what what was it? What it was I realized that the reason that he couldn't tell me So I changed it to um I saw what was stopping him or something. It was like a tiny little sentence instead of this big sprawling ugly mess of a sentence. But normally I just write it out and then print it out and dance around as I'm printing it out. ELO's Mr. Blue Sky. It's a great dancing around printing out song. And then I leave it for maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. And then when I read it, I can't remember writing it, so I've got no feelings towards this utter garbage that I've written, that I'm looking at, so I can fix it without feeling sad that I had to delete anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it though. That's not a hot tip. That's just information. That is not a recommendation. Matthew Green, who I blog with on Criminal Minds, who's just written one fantastic theatrical cozy called, can't remember. Sorry, Matthew. He was saying that he feels envious of pantsers. I thought, you're crazy. Don't ever stop being a plotter if you're a plotter. I mean, why would you do that? It's so wasteful to write all these drafts and all this stuff that you throw out and don't do the research till after you've written it. Ugh. But I have tried it. I've tried it the other way. It just doesn't work. So,
Okay, which classic mystery author would you most like to have tea with? And mushy peas.
ooh, tea. And I know who that is. That's Laura Walker. That was Laura Walker, wasn't it? Um, oh yeah, mushy peas. Sorry, writer. Um, well, not Dorothy L. Sayers, because I think I would be terrified of her. I love her. A very proud moment was that I wrote an introduction to um, one of the reissues. Her whole series was reissued by Hodder and Stoughton, and I got to write one of the introductions. I wouldn't want to have tea with her because, right? Um, which classic mystery? Well, I think I would be semi frightened of Dame Agatha
Mm.
as well, actually. Oh, I'd like to have tea with Josephine Tay and say, oh, just go for it. You know, she was so in the closet and she lived alone
Mm.
and she never got out of the closet. And I'd like to have tea with her now. Have tea, take her to Pride. Like not for me to go back there, but to get Josephine Tay to here and now to California next month and take her to Pride and go girl. That's what I'd like to do because I think it's really sad. I mean, it's just appalling when you think of people's lives
Yeah, yeah.
then.
Well, you started to
That's my
say
answer.
something about Thomas and Mercer, and what's the difference writing for them? I mean, is it because they're built in Amazon marketing or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. I took a lot of, I mean, it was a big decision to make because I thought it would be really different. So last year at Left Coast Crime in Denver, when we were in the shopping around phase, I just asked everyone, librarians, booksellers, readers, other authors, Thomas and Mercer authors, non-Thomas and Mercer authors, just lots and lots of soundings. And then in the end, editorially, it's exactly the same. Fantastic editor, Jessica Tribble, and it's exactly the same as any other book daft editor and then copy editor and line editor. But the difference is the um the marketing. I mean the you know the Amazon marketing for Thomas and Mercer and Lake Union. So I say, should I say this? Yeah, probably. I'll say it once you've said that. You know you're going to say it. But sort of the big publisher, not so much Severn House because they're in London and they're a different beast and they're um very human. But the big American publishers, it's always what are you going to do, what are you going to do, what are you going to do, what are you going to do. And for Thomas and Mercer, it's more like if you want to do something, that's fine, that's cute. We'll give you a deep discount on the books, but basically, we've got this, which is great, actually is fantastic. When you're not Becky Clark, who I was speaking to at Left Coast Crime in San Francisco just there, um, she is a marketer. That's her, that's where she comes from. That's her background. And even in a kind of just off the cuff conversation, she's sparking all these ideas about how to do things. And I sat there in awe, thinking, wow, you and I are very different. But for someone like me who's so British and, don't really want to say, buy my fantastic book ever. I just want to say, read Beginners to the Stage, um, please, and read Matthew Green's book. I'm really sorry that I've forgotten what it's called. And read Shelley Jones's board game shop books all day long. But when it comes to me trying to say my books are great, it's like, ugh, ugh, yuck. I can feel the spirit of my grandmother moving to stop me. So that's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine they've got
That's
a
really
lot of
nice.
horsepower behind them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and also also the paperback and the audiobook and the ebook come out on the same day in Britain and in America. So half of my emails, when's it coming out here? I've gone because it's out in both places on the same day. It's great.
Coordination. Yeah. Last question we have, and I think why don't we put everyone back on if there's other questions that may come up. But do you have another book that you're working on while your other one is your other one is kind of fermenting in the drawer, or you always have two going at one time, two or three, or
No, never. One,
one?
just one, always just one. So the one that I started today, that's going to be it until I'm done. Apart from I'll have to break off and edit. But there's a difference between what I'm doing once it's out of the house and I'm editing to other people's suggestions. It feels like a very different process. When I'm going through all these, ridiculous pantser drafts, I can only do one thing at a time. But I can break off and take care of stuff coming in. Yeah.
Rick, I think Claire had a question about whether any of your publishers have asked you to use a pen name when you write a
Oh,
different genre.
I've always, and recently I've said no. I am quite surprised that the genres that I write in now, so the historical detective, the capers kind of comic ones, and the dark ones are all the same name. But there are two, so the time travel one, and then there was another one because it was a two-book contract. They did come out under the name Catriona McLeod. It's not much of a pen name, but they wanted it to be different from the 1930s. But if I do bring them out again, which I really should, because I like them. I mean, they might have dated, it might be. One of them has dated somewhat. If you look on my website, it's right at the end of the standalones, and there's a spoiler in it because I did something with a minority character that I wouldn't do now, and put a spoiler and apology on there. So I mean, maybe they would have aged badly. But yeah, so I was Catriona McLeod for two books,
And that wasn't
but
your
no
maiden
one's
name.
mentioned it since. Say again?
I did see those, and I wasn't sure if those were your maiden name or it was a
No.
made up name.
Yeah, it was a made up name, and they didn't even let me spell it Leod. It was McLeod, like a cloud, like I'd been through Ellis Island. And I thought this is insane, and it was a London publisher.
Oh,
I mean,
interesting.
some of those Ellis Island names, I know it was a dark period, but some of those names are great. A guy in our bank's called Chris Majestic because his Polish name had so many consonants in it. They just thought nope,
nope.
and made up the nearest English name.
Yeah. Well, I see no more questions. Did you want to finish up, Jennifer, with anything to say, or?
I did want to let people know that Capital Crimes is organizing an author photo shoot for June 27th, and it's a chance to get some headshots. So people will sign up for a 15-minute time slot. We have one photographer who is going to do this. So they're like mini sessions. But we will be sending out an email probably by the end of this week or maybe early next week about it. So be on the lookout for that.
Well, Catriona, as always, Wonderful to hear your talk. I love your books.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you very much.
This is great, and can't wait for the next one and the next Meet the Author with you. It's so much fun.
Thank you, Rick.
And I want you all.
Thank you for taking on the presidency of the chapter as well.
We'll see how long that lasts, right? Impeachment is down the road.
For now. Yeah.
And everybody, hope to see you Saturday, Michael Bracken, and then Sunday at the Crime Time at Old Haunts. So thanks for attending. And again, if you've missed anything or you have other questions, we will have this on our YouTube in about a week. So thank you all.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, Catriona.
Bye.
This was really fun.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.